I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option, as Sori says. 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy merch.
All right, guys, we got one more. It's a Portishead cover. It's entitled what now? Where was the start?
So yeah,
59?
Portishead is another English band, by the way, and they're a trip hop band. This is from their 3rd album called Third.
Wait,
and,
this is not Green Druids?
This
is
Green
cover.
Oh, okay.
And it's so much better than the original, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's called Threads.
All right.
How you feel about that, Portishead?
Check it out.
Okay. Threads is the name of this song. Let me get the lyrics up. Yep, that worked. That worked
God.
with the rest of the record. I see what she was doing there. I see what she was doing there.
Oh my God.
It's heavy, right? I like heavy both emotionally and musically.
Yeah. Z, I don't know how you can listen to this kind of stuff. All that. I feel like if I listen to too much of this, I could just drive my car off a bridge or something. This is so friggin' heavy.
It is. It is very heavy. Like, for whatever reason, for me, I just vibe with it. It kind of just goes. I don't. If I could put words to it. If I could put. Sorry about that. For me, the reason why, why I'm laughing is because for me, I kind of vibe with it. And so, like, music like this kind of just fits my mode, right?
Uh-huh.
Just for whatever reason. I don't really know why, like, how to explain it. But there's, like, there's a synergy that I have with music like this for whatever reason. Because, like, you guys have heard the other stuff that I play that's way more aggressive, right?
Yeah.
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 Songs to you, they're higher energy and more aggressive.
Yeah.
But when I'm just kind of like my steady state mode is like listening to a lot of stuff like this because it just there's a synergy with the way that I kind of feel and move and operate in the day that just it goes with me for whatever reason.
Wow. Oh my God.
I mean,
It's hard for me to.
Neil says it's cathartic.
I know. I saw that.
So,
I saw that.
it depends. Especially if you're a person that's prone to a bunch of mentation, like I'm tired of my mind, I'm worn out thinking.
Yeah, but I feel like that a lot.
I'm always so unsure.
I do feel like that in a lot of different. But I would no. Ooh, no.
The song is kind of like a blend of anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
The way I
Yes,
see it.
yes, Sonia, that's what it is. It's the anxiety side of it. It's not just depressing, and that's what's upsetting to me. I don't like the anxious side of it at all. Wow, you captured it.
You'd either like an anxious song or a depressive song, but you don't want a song that's.
But
that's
don't put
a
the
10
two of
on
those
both.
together. I mean, what the fuck? Like, wow.
Give me a break.
Yeah, really. Honest to goodness, it's almost tormenting to me. Like, I can like step back from it and say, "Wow, they're really good at that." Like, that's really. I could just, if it wasn't for you, Z, I'd have just. No joke.
Really?
No joke. Yeah, I was done.
It's so funny because like I vibe with this so much. So the first time, okay, so as I mentioned before, they released the first song as a single initially, and it was months before the album actually dropped. So I was listening to the first song and I loved it so much in the mood. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, man, I can't wait to see what the album's going to have because there are elements of this that just match me, like match my psyche so much. And I was really hoping that there would be elements of the album that are like this song. And so the reason why I was saying like there are two other songs in the album that I want to rank higher because they just match me better. And it's like the third song and the sixth song really do. And the funny part is that the sixth song is a cover. But what makes it even more interesting is that Portishead is one of my all-time favorite bands, right? So I love Portishead so much. Their first two albums are just perfect for me. And they're very depressive. And they're very dark and moody. And they've actually influenced a lot of depressive metal bands. And so, like, to find out that the song that I love the most on the album is the sixth song, the final song, and it did the thing that I was hoping when they finally dropped the album. I was like, there it is. It ended up being a Portishead cover of one of my favorite bands.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see how that'd be super special.
What? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to enter into mega vulnerability mode here. What line, Z, or what stanza, or what couple lines are you the most relating to in this particular piece?
I battle my thoughts, and I find I can't explain. I've traveled so far, yet somehow feel the same. And then of course you go on to the chorus part, and to me that one really means so much to me because I do battle with my thoughts that I find I can't explain. And I have this whole, I've traveled so far yet somehow feel the same, as in, like, you've heard me talk about my experiences, right? Very, very broad experiences. And you and I, when we met up in Southern California, we talked a lot about that. Like, we both had similar kinds of experiences, different but similar, like growing up in similar conditions and experiencing homelessness and shelters, and then living in a very, then kind of going into a world where we were almost suicidal with our pursuit of certain careers. Like, I took on this extremely edgy career that paid more because of how high risk it was initially, and had to work with certain people have security working with us. We were high value targets, and we related like similar kinds of like almost suicidal kind of approaches to life. Like, we exit this world that was just crazy, constantly switched on, and go into this world that's like, we don't even care about ourselves anymore. We're in the adult world. We're willing to take any risks and do these wild jobs and travel and go around the world. And then I'm kind of like, in a way, travel worn and experience worn. I've seen so much, done so much. I went through so much experience just in the few years of my teens that most people don't experience in much of their adult life.
Their whole life. Yeah.
And then I go into the adult world doing something even crazier, right?
Yeah.
And it's like so much breadth and depth of experience there, yet I somehow feel the same and feel like, like I can speak on a lot of things experience-wise, but I'm still that same uncertain person, doubting and not sure of myself and questioning whether or not I'm doing the right thing, whether or not I ever really did what I wanted to do, whether or not I've lived the experiences I truly want to experience, and am being true to myself, etc. So it's like, no matter what, I'm still this frail thing underneath that's doubtful and questioning and insecure. And so that means a lot to me. But most importantly is the way that they captured all of that in the sound. Like, Green Druid is so effective at capturing these emotions and lyrics in the sound and pushing it out there. And when I hear it, it isn't depressive. For me, it's like an equilibrium in a way. But I'm sure, like, for others, it can easily be depressive.
Yeah. Is it a you're not alone feeling, like, hey, this is like right on the head, and there are other people
relatable.
that feel that way, and you're not by yourself.
It's so perfectly relatable.
Yeah.
And I listen to a lot of music like this. Like, I listen to Shining quite a bit, because it also matches that kind of mood in many ways. I listen to Primitive Man for the same reason. It matches that mood, but with more anxiety with Primitive Man.
Oh, God.
So yeah, it's wild to find that, like, when I really analyze the kind of music that I listen to and the stuff that vibes with me the most, it's like the stuff that would, as you're stating, would kind of like drive people anxious or depressed or make them feel like they want to get away from it.
Yep.
And for me, it's an equilibrium kind of thing.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah. Different music affects people differently. I was looking at this song in the context of the whole record, and I was looking at it like, this was like the meta part of the song, where the person telling the story puts down the book and looks at the camera and says, this is how I feel about all this.
Yep.
So that's how I was looking at it. I was like, okay, this definitely goes along with the album, particularly the last stanza, I'm alive when I sleep. And how did the record start?
A dream.
A dream.
Yo, you're right.
Right? And in the dream, she meets all these beings and has this, at minimum, muse moment where, because I believe that this person probably did have a real dream. and I think it was probably very inspirational to the entire album to a degree. And I think, you know, the "I'm alive when I sleep" line was like really massive for me, considering what just happened with the arc of the album itself.
Oh,
where
yeah.
the whole thing starts off with the dream.
Yeah.
And then, how did you interpret? So, "I'm alive when I sleep. Why am I not in all that I've got?"
Literally, that was the question I was going to ask you guys, because I have no.
How did you interpret that?
Like, for me, it was, I've got all these things, but this is not me. These are distractions. These are things that I use to pretend that they're me. And I've got my life, I've got my family, my friends, I've got things, but they're not me. And I think that comes down a lot to the anxiety and the doubt that's in the song.
Yeah.
And because I have a very similar experience myself, where I kind of look around at all that I've got, and I'm like, no, I'm just an incomplete person. These are not me. These are something I prop up to suggest that they're me, to tell me that they're me, but they're not. And
now
that's the way I kind of read it.
Yeah, to me, it was like that line, "I'm alive when I sleep," is so fascinating, because I think she had such a real moment in that dream, and she was connecting with something so real and true.
Well, yeah.
And it's like, why can I only have that experience or that feeling in a dream state?
Yeah.
I've got all this stuff around me.
Yep.
And again, at a dream state, it's like we said earlier, you are not completely in a complete autonomy of your consciousness. So it's not like she can turn that on and off. That was just something that was chosen for her by her subconscious, the universe, God, Allah, whatever you want to say. That moment was chosen for her in the sleep. But then she comes back into the real world, and it's like because there is a weight to the entire album. And I think even if something is weighty in a depressive sense, like, all of us want some sort of depth, meaning, transcendental sort of heaviness to your life. So you hear something, you're like, oh, that was light, or you say light reading. You know what I'm saying? Or it's funny because the Hebrew word for glory is chabod, and it literally means weight or heaviness. And so it's like she has this chabod moment in the dream state, and then she wakes up in America or Europe or whatever, and it's just everything is so light and false, and you're dealing with, look at the huge conversations we're having about Mother Earth, giving the land a Sabbath, this, like, all this weighty shit.
Yeah.
And then you turn on TV and it's like, oh, Britney Spears was topless in the, like, who fucking like, shout out to Britney Spears. I'm just saying, like, it's just the triviality of life after she had this incredibly profound experience. I think it fits with, my point is, it fits with the record, at least the way I was interpreting the song. And that stanza to me was captured it. And I'm not a lucid dreamer like you, but I've had a couple, on one hand, very significant moments in dreams where I've woken up and been sorely disappointed.
And there's another, and this is also kind of where I interpret depression as well, because there's also the other element of I'm alive when I sleep is like a major element of depression is sleeping a lot and not wanting to wake up from it, and finding escape in the dreams and in the sleep. And then you also have the line that comes at the end of that stanza, which is, I can't find no one to blame. Which is another element of depression, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got stand down, damned one, which I think is the conscience, right?
Yeah.
And And then that gets repeated, and that's the most aggressive part of the song too. And it's harsh vocals, it's extreme vocals saying "Stand down, damned one," and it repeats "damned one" over and over again. And it's almost like trying to just thrust the conscience back, like being plagued by your conscience and trying to just shut it out.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Damn you.
That's why I interpreted this as a mix of anxiety and depression. And it does such a good job of conveying both anxiety and depression. Like the combination of the phaser and the pitch shifting, like bending, of the tones creates this very anxious resonance inside you. And then the slow build with the almost like very faint vocals that there's very little energy to them. That's like a sign of depression as well. Like when someone talks meekly and quietly, when someone's really depressed and people can barely hear them, the lyrics or the vocals all the way through it are faint until you get to the second chorus, and then they punch out. And then they come out, and that slow build is just so emblematic of that progression of like these themes, the depression and the anxiety at the end, and then the uncertainty and doubt, and then more depression at the end.
Yeah, more specifically, I also interpreted the damned one to be, at the end of the record of the previous song, humanity is damned. And I think part of it is like,
you are of the human race.
Resignation. You are part of the human race. You're part of the problem. And even if you see it, like, that's one of the worst things of all time. Like, we've all had people in our lives where it's like, and actually, you and I have had discussions about this with certain people that, we've teamed up to try to make things a little bit lighter, say it that way. And we see that they're like on a path to self-destruction. We see that, okay, even if I help this person here, means you've had those, like, okay, let's help this person.
I don't think people are on a path to self-destruction. I think you are on a self-destructive path, or you are on a healthy path.
Yeah.
Like, it's one or
That's
the
a
other.
good way of putting it, yeah.
Yeah. And, like, we know we're going to help this person, but principially, they're still on the same path.
Yep.
And they're going to be right in that situation. And there's nothing worse than, like, knowing somebody's going to wreck themselves. Seeing that future. And so, if you multiply that by 8 billion people on a planet, and there's that powerlessness that you have.
Right,
where it's like, we're just damned, man.
Yeah, yep.
You know what I'm saying? And obviously, I say all the time, being a Christian, things are very convenient for us because I believe everything in this album from start to finish. And if the artist were to tell me I had a dream about this, yada yada yada, I would say that is literally true. Like, I would completely say you had that. I would go as far as to say it's from God. Like, I think this is a really inspired record, like divinely inspired record. Honestly, to be honest, that's what I believe, because it has so many prophetic warnings in it. And there's so many, biblical parallels. Like, I'm sure that if I were to say, do you know that Leviticus says that the land will vomit? Like, I'm sure she probably doesn't know that.
Right.
But to me, they're coming from the same source. You don't have to be on the team for God to inspire you and all the rest of it.
Right.
And
truth is truth.
So I just felt like
what you're saying.
It was such an inspired thing.
Yeah.
But
wow.
It's one of the motifs of the prophets, actually, in the Bible, is that the prophets were almost always depressed. So, for example, one of them is called a weeping prophet, Jeremiah. And he basically says, yep, here we go. And we're all going to fucking die. And, like, the guy's like, I should have never been born, blah, blah, blah. And, like, so depression is one of the, as well as anxiety. He was also a very anxious guy. He was full of anxiety. And so, like, that's depression and anxiety is actually one of the marks of the prophet in the Old Testament. That's one of the motifs of the prophet. That's one of the ways you can mark if the guy was hearing from God or not, is whether or not he was depressed and anxious. So that's why there's that constant phrase, don't be afraid to Daniel and all these other people when the angels show up to the prophets, because they were always afraid. They were always full of anxiety. And so when you see a dark future, and you really, really see it, there's an element of this right here, right? And obviously for me, you know, I'm like, I look at this as ultimately like, God's not going to leave us to ourselves. Like he's going to intervene and we're going to figure it out, inshallah. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the way that he helps us is through prophets or music like this. And I think this entire record is a prophetic album. And if we're going to figure it out, and how to care for the earth and all the rest of it, this record is going to be part of how we get there.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and so like, it's the depression and the anxiety that she feels when looking, let's, like I said, because I feel like she's reading a book from song 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And then in this song, she puts it down and says, this is how I feel in light of what I just showed you guys. That this is when she went meta. She basically broke the wall and basically said, all right, guys, this is how this is affecting me, the person. And so that was what like blew me away about, like, I think concept albums are very hard to do, and they're not, most concept albums in my opinion are trash. Just because you have to have the right mix of repetition and new information.
Yep.
And sonic sort of awareness and rhyming with new ones, and these guys just did an entire
without
world
over explaining too.
Without,
like,
yeah.
I think that you kind of want that, like what you explained, Z, where you were like, it didn't seem like it kind of all fit, and then as we were like breaking it down, it does all fit. I feel like like you'll do that when you write stuff, like you assume a certain level of intellect from your readers or the people that are listening to you, and I'm like, these people aren't going to get it, and I over-explain, and that makes something very boring when you over-explain. Yeah. So I think musically, like what they did lyrically and stuff, like they kept it kind of like vague enough where you kind of had to like dig a little bit, but at the same time, it was you could see that there was a theme.
Yeah. What did you get this? What did you get the song, Z?
Oh man, this is an easy 10. Easy 10.
Yeah, I think it is good at 10.
I like, in a way, I would almost, give it an 11. But the thing is, I haven't done like enough reactions with you guys to be able to feel comfortable giving anything an 11. But it's such a good song, and I feel like I like it the best out of the album, and I gave Haunted Memories a 10. So I kind of want to bump it up, but I'm gonna
do it,
Z. 10 anyway.
Do it,
you think
Z.
You can do the 11?
I've done 10.5s as well. Yeah. So do it.
Let's give it. Let's do. Let's give it a 10.5 to leave room in case there's ever an 11.
What do you got?
Well, first I have to say one more thing about this last piece. I'm alive when I sleep. Why am I not in all that I've got? I can't find no one to blame. Like, I think that one of the kind of staples of dreams is that you're not responsible for anything. Like, whatever happens in the dream, it doesn't matter. When you wake up, if you destroyed a city, it doesn't matter. If you know what I'm saying? Like, it literally doesn't matter. And so she says, when I'm alive when I sleep, why am I not in all that I've got? I can't find no one to blame. Like, I think when she's awake, like you want to be able to just kind of like get rid of the culpability that you have. But then she says, stand down, damned one, which I kind of agreed with what you were saying, Z, about like speaking to her own conscience, like, shut the fuck up. You're like, you're messing with me too much here, and I don't have any escape here. Yeah. I can't blame anybody else because I know like this is on me. And so, because I think that we are all to blame for the state of our world.
Yeah.
100%. So anyway, I hated this song with like complete and total hatred. I
Which
feel
means,
like
once again it did its job.
Yes. The vocal style that she got in, like you kind of like poked me, and I think that you're right. Like I think it's a vocal style that I would definitely, I think that's in my range.
100%.
And
100%.
And maybe that would be like, Z, you said when you listen to this, it's like cathartic for you, and you kind of like, and I feel like maybe doing that vocal style would be like that for me. But I'm not gonna, I'm not going to sit down and listen to this whole album again, and certainly not this last song. If you hear me listening to this, bring me to the hospital ASAP. Put your hands and pray over me, do something, because I am not right if I'm listening to
We're
this.
in trouble. Yeah.
If I got this on a loop,
Yeah.
save me.
Yeah.
So I don't really, I'm really troubled in how to rate this because I have such adverse feelings I wanted to escape it so badly. Like, you know, like when you see those movies where like something happens and the person friggin' jumps out, like crashes through the glass and you're like, yo, you know, you had time to use the stairs. I feel like that in this song. I'm like, the friggin' window. So I don't know. I guess I feel like maybe that then it's another one that's well done. So then maybe it should be high scored, but I don't know. Did everybody else rate? You already gave it. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 9.6.
And what'd you give it, C?
She gave it 10 and a half.
I gave it a 10.5.
I'm going to go with a 9.9. It was terrifying, and I don't want it again. I'm not going on that roller coaster again.
I gotta tell you, though, like, I don't know if it's the Z effect or what, but these have been the most thoughtful ratings you've ever given.
Well, I'm troubled. I'm severely disturbed.
Yeah. Okay, so
it's funny because I've been sitting on this album for you guys for a long time since I think it finally got released on December of 2020. So I've been sitting on this one for a while, and multiple times I was like, I should just submit it to him. You know?
No, I think the timing was absolutely perfect.
Yeah. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it would have been rough to submit it during like the worst part of the pandemic as well, right?
Holy crap.
When we were losing 10,000 fucking people a day.
Yeah.
Everybody's cooped up inside listening to a song like that. Trapped underwater. Can't breathe.
Yeah. I'll say...
like, Neil rates it as a 9.9 as well, by the way.
See?
Oh, okay. Is he still there?
Second best track for him, yeah.
So... Okay, now let's rate the album as a whole. This album is the most well-written, thought-through concept album I've heard. Now, we did Proto-Man, and I love Proto-Man. Everybody knows I love Proto-Man. But this is Harvard-level shit. In my opinion, just the way they did things and the depth. I'm actually gonna go back and watch the review again and see all of our wheels churning, because Weird Z, it was almost like you were the traveler. You were well traveled. You traveled the roads before.
Yeah, that's true.
But at the same time, it was almost like you're seeing it for the first time.
Yeah,
So it was
really experience
it was a real cool way for me to experience a song, because you knew, but you didn't know at the same time.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's like you were like two persons. Like one person was like, yeah, here, make it right here.
Yeah.
And then there was another Z that was like, holy shit, this is what happens when you make it right. So that probably is like a lightning in a bottle moment in time that we'll probably never experience again. So if you're a DJ and you're going to come on and do one of these things, don't expect that. There's no pressure. It's not going to happen again. It was just a very specific moment that the three of us had.
Right.
So, and the other thing is we've got a connection outside of all this shit. So what I'm saying is don't try to compare it and all the rest. It's just let this thing be what it is.
Yep.
And I had a feeling that this album was going to be really unique for you guys. Like, you know, typically, because the stuff I submit is like way harsher, more aggressive, higher tempo. And so I kept thinking, like, when am I going to submit this one? When am I going to finally do it? Because I always knew that it was going to be well received broadly because of the elements that it has.
Yeah.
You know, it's got a little of everything. It's very melodic, but it's doomy. It's got all these different emotions, like heavy emotions in it. It's got these higher tempo parts to it. Basically can satisfy everybody, and multiple of the songs meander through so many different styles and moods, and it conveys the emotion and the feeling so well.
It really
so I
does.
knew it was going to be well received, and I wanted you guys to hear it, because it's like every time I hear you guys do a Doom song, I'm always like, yeah, but it's not this.
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's not this, and I'm so picky about Doom, and often the stuff that I hear that gets submitted to you guys, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's good, but nah, it's just like there's so many other songs that are like that, and I really wanted to make sure that I could get you guys something unique in the realm of Doom, and this album just landed in my lap back in late 2020, and I was just blown away by it. Instantly one of my favorite albums that year, if not my favorite. And I just had been wanting to submit this to you guys for so long. And I'm glad I finally got to do it, because now experiencing this with you and with the audience and seeing the audience's reaction, very, very strong across the board for the audience as well. It's like, okay, like it wasn't just me, right? It wasn't just me being moved by this album. Everybody else in the room seems to be as well.
Yeah. What made you decide to jump on and do it with us? Because that was something. That's something that's unique.
I had been wanting to do a collab reaction with you guys for a while, and I wanted it to be something special that we could all kind of really relate to, or at least discuss it at length. And this is one that had been just eating at me for a long time and was in the back of my head, and I would think about it every once in a while, think about submitting it and just letting you guys react to it. But the more that I thought about it, the more I thought, no, I should probably be part of the reaction, especially because of how much the album means to me, especially the sixth track that tops the whole thing off, that hit the mood that I was looking for, and it's a cover from one of my favorite bands. And and then what happened was this year I got back into streaming, and I basically took it up 6 days a week, which is unique for me. I didn't used to stream that much. So it basically opened up all this time for me to actually collaborate with you guys, because I'm already devoting this time to being on camera and streaming and everything. So it makes it easier for me to coordinate with you, because that was how things fell apart a couple of years ago. Was like we kept trying to schedule and we just couldn't do it because my schedule couldn't align up properly. So now that things have changed a bit and I'm doing streaming more than I used to, I basically have opened up these time slots where I'm already going to be on camera, hanging out and doing things on mic and everything.
And that's another thing. Like, if you're going to be a DJ and you're going to choose this option, like, don't compare yourself to Zonia. One, we've known each other for damn near 3.5 years. Two, she's fucking streaming 6 days a week. So she's comfortable behind a camera. She understands rhythm. She knows when to stop, when to start. She's a pro. So don't compare yourself on that regard. Okay, favorite moment in the stream.
When we basically rediscovered what the third track meant after hearing
that was a fun moment.
Because it was just so groundbreaking for me. Like, it just opened up something I'd been confused about for a while with that song, and suddenly with new perspective, we're all like, you figured it out, Vin, and we go back and look at it and we're like, holy crap, you're right. And it was just a mind-blowing moment for me, and it connected the puzzle. Like, it was the missing piece that finally fit into place, that in a way that had been out of place for so long for me with this album.
Do you know how I came up with that? You'll never guess.
How?
John Sailhammer. Oh. So there's this obscure author that he's got this book about the Old Testament, and he does that with almost every chapter of the Bible. He finds these weird things that, because there's a lot of things that, like, that doesn't make any fucking sense in the flow of the story, but then he'll make these lexical connections, and if you read his book, it trains your mind to find those aberrations and go, because you can assume that the author's an idiot and doesn't know what they're doing, or you can assume that the author's much smarter than you and you need to catch up to them, right? And so it's like, I was looking at it with that lens, and it was just bugging me. And that, honestly, that was the longest review we did. Song 3 was the longest review. Oh yeah, that was like a hour review, because we were talking about trauma and things of that nature. But it just bugged me. I'm like, how the... Because it went right back to the environmental stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And so for almost the entirety of the fourth song, I was still on the third song.
Really?
Yeah, because it was just sticking out. Because like I said,
Yeah.
when you listen to Sailhammer, he trained you. So the fourth song was my favorite moment when I had that moment of enlightenment about the third song. So that was my favorite. That was my favorite part.
Mine was, you guys, was all very deep. Mine was that moment right after the song when I felt completely traumatized and I was like saying it and Z started laughing. Because I just loved the laugh. It was like kind of genuine and like, and I just felt like, you know, like when you're around some people and you have to like act or you have to put on like a whatever.
Yeah.
But I felt like I could just be honest about how traumatized I felt by it.
Yeah.
And like you genuinely felt like laughing.
Yeah.
And then it
Right,
wasn't,
yeah.
you know, like some people might be like, you should laugh. Look, she's
There were a
traumatized.
couple parts where she's like, she talked about the Earth being
Sorry
destroyed.
about that.
There was one part where she's talking about the Earth being destroyed, and then she looked up at the camera and smiled like as soon as she talked. Yes, we're gonna be destroyed. I was like, that's fucking Sonya. You're never gonna find another one like that. You're never gonna find another Sonya. Forget
Oh
it.
man.
Oh
It's
man.
so funny, like because outwardly my behavior I think is very contradictory to kind of like the way everything kind of inwardly is processed and the way I look at everything. And I've often told people that I have a very bleak view of the world, and it's very nihilistic, and so very absurdist as well. Like absurdism is almost the way that I view things, like through the lens of, right?
Yeah.
And so I've had people, like when they get to know me really well and they kind of learn a little bit about the way that I view things and process things, they're like, that's weirdly dark for you. And I hear that, like people will say that it's like strangely dark or strangely bleak for you. And because the way that I conduct myself, it's almost contradictory, I guess, to that, because I'm very friendly to people.
Yeah,
and I like
I agree with that.
hugs and and so, but it's like and it's not incongruous with how I feel. I think a part of it is like almost what would you call it? Like an attempt to mend the thing that I perceive, right? Like I view things very bleakly and in a dark way, and so the way that I behave is an attempt to sort of mend that. I want to be nice to people and hug them. I want to be friendly. I want to lift their spirits up, and I want them to have a better experience, because I hope that maybe that will change things. Like maybe the world won't be as bleak if I can somehow provide something that lifts others up and makes them feel better. But at the same time, it also seems like a fruitless endeavor when I really think about it. But in a way, like like these musical elements just kind of vibe with the way that internally I feel. And so when I listen to it, it's just like it's like a synchronization or an equilibrium, and it feels at home, I guess, is a better way of putting it.
Yeah, 100%. We're at the 5-hour mark. Thank you so much, Zia.
Damn, 5 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours, 56 minutes, and 38 seconds.
How long did it feel?
I wasn't sure. I was going to say like 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah, that's like 2.5 movies.
Time flies.
Time flies. Listen.
Wow.
Listen, I'm going to say this and we're going to go. Johnny Melancholy, his girl Johnny is in the hospital with COVID. If you're in COVID in the hospital, it's serious. So he asked us to pray. I'm going to do that. I'm going to pray for Johnny Melancholy, and then we're going to jump out of here. I promise you I would, bro, and I don't talk shit. And with that, I'll pray. Jesus, thank you so much for this time. Thank you for the inspiration you gave to this band. Unbelievable. God, I pray for Johnny and Johnny. God, I pray that you would give the doctors wisdom to help her, and that you would relieve Johnny of any anxiety that he has, so that he can be a good support. God, thank you for bringing him into our lives, and thank you so much for Zonia and all the gift that she is to us and to her friends and the world. And I thank you that you preserved her life through all the bullshit. We love you. I can't wait to see you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, guys, we're out of here. We love you. Stay safe.
Take care of each other.
However you want to, take care of each other and stay safe, do that, man, because I don't fucking know.
Thanks again for the stream.
We love you guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Have a good one. Vin out.
Sori out.
Z out.
Gone, bitch.